Fear doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. And the whisper sounds like logic. Not now. It's not safe. Wait until you're ready. You don't even realize it's fear, because it's been with you for so long, it started sounding like you. It taught you to shrink before you ever stepped forward, to play small before you ever found your voice. But what if fear wasn't the enemy? What if it was just misunderstood? Here's the twist most people never hear. Fear doesn't have to go away for you to move forward. You just have to stop letting it lead. And in this video, I'm not going to tell you to be fearless. I'm going to show you how to walk with fear and still move toward the life you want. This isn't motivational fluff. This is a conversation you didn't know you needed. So press play and take a breath. You don't have to take notes. You don't even have to look at the screen. Just listen. Let the words meet you where you are. And if something in this message speaks to you, give it a like, subscribe, and stick around. Because once you learn how to carry fear without letting it control you, everything starts to change. Most people grow up thinking fear is a weakness, something to avoid, to hide, to push away. But here's the truth no one talks about. Fear has saved you, more times than you can count. When you were a child and didn't know how to protect yourself, fear stepped in. It said, stay quiet, don't speak, don't draw attention. It kept you safe, but what once protected you may now be holding you back. I had a friend who loved to sing. He had a voice that made people stop and listen, but he never shared it. Every time there was an opportunity, he'd back off. He'd say, maybe next time. Not ready yet, but deep down it was fear. Fear of being judged, of failing, of not being good enough, and that fear made him stop before even starting. Sound familiar? How many dreams die in silence because fear whispers, don't even try? That's the dangerous part, when fear stops protecting and starts controlling. It doesn't shout, it whispers just enough to make you doubt. What if you mess up? What if they laugh? What if you're not enough? And little by little you begin to shrink. Not because you're weak, but because fear got too good at pretending to be logic. Maybe it's time to stop listening. Maybe there's a stronger voice inside you, waiting to be heard. Some things you never said out loud, but your body remembers them all. Fear isn't just a thought. It lives in your chest, your throat, your hands. It shows up as tight shoulders, a racing heart, a shaky voice. That's your body trying to speak the pain your heart had to bury. Growing up, you learn to hold it in. Don't cry, don't show weakness, don't make noise. And when feelings get silenced, the body becomes the speaker. Have you noticed what happens to your body when fear hits? Your stomach twists, your breath shortens, your muscles lock up like you're under threat, even when nothing's really happening. It's like having a guard dog that barks at every shadow, even when there's no real danger. That's what happens when fear becomes your reflex. Your system gets stuck in protect mode, even when you're just trying to live. But here's the good news. This response was learned, and anything learned can be unlearned. You're not broken. You're just carrying signals from moments your heart wasn't allowed to express. And healing starts when you begin to notice. When you pause and ask, what am I really feeling right now? The more you listen, the less your body has to scream. And little by little, peace starts to take the place of panic. There's fear that keeps you alive, and fear that keeps you stuck. If a wild animal were chasing you, fear would kick in to help you run. That's real, that's useful. But the fear that stops you from speaking up, from being seen, from trying something new, that's not instinct, that's learned. Maybe it came from being laughed at as a kid, being punished for making mistakes, or being told you were too much. And now, even when nothing's wrong, your mind still says, danger. It's like standing in front of a door that looks locked, so you never try to open it. You just assume it won't budge. That's what learned fear does. It creates invisible walls. You don't even test them. You just stay on your side, thinking you're safe, when really, you're just stuck. And what's worse, after a while, you stop seeing it as fear. You start calling it just the way I am. Learned fear feeds off your imagination. It takes one little doubt and turns it into a full-blown story of failure. And the more you avoid facing it, the louder it becomes. But the moment you stop and ask, is this fear real or just familiar? You crack it open. You realize most of the walls were built in your head. And maybe the door was never locked at all. Most people wait for the fear to go away before they act. But here's the truth. Courage isn't about feeling ready. It's about going anyway. Even if your hands shake and your voice cracks, the most inspiring people you know, they feel fear too. They just stopped waiting for it to disappear. Instead, they learned how to carry it with them like a weight in their backpack. Not something that holds them down, but something they can walk with. I remember the first time I had to speak in front of a crowd. My mouth was dry, my legs felt like jelly, and I almost convinced myself to walk away. But I stayed. I spoke. My voice trembled, but I got through it. And something shifted inside me that day. Not because I conquered fear, but because I moved with it. That moment became a reference, a reminder that fear can ride along, but it doesn't have to steer. The difference between those who move and those who freeze isn't strength, it's permission. One gives themselves permission to go, even scared. The other waits for perfect safety that never comes. What if your next step doesn't require confidence, just willingness? What if the fear isn't a stop sign, but a signal that you're about to grow? Fear is dramatic. It loves attention. And the more you feed it, the louder it gets. Every time you overthink, replay mistakes, or wait for the perfect moment, you're handing fear a microphone. And guess what? It knows how to perform. It will turn a single doubt into a full-blown story. It'll drag you back to moments when things went wrong, just to keep you from trying again. And slowly, without noticing, you let fear become the lead actor of your life. But what if fear is just a performer, and you're the one who built the stage? Every time you hesitate, delay, or imagine the worst, you're spotlighting the very thing that's holding you back. And it feels real because you've rehearsed it so many times. But here's a shift. Fear only grows when you keep feeding it your focus. When you finally call it by name, it shrinks. You don't have to fight it, just take away the script. So next time fear starts talking, don't rush to shut it down. Let it speak. Then ask, is this helping me move or just holding me still? You don't need to silence it completely. You just don't need to give it the lead role anymore. You can thank it for its concern and still walk on stage without letting it steal the spotlight. Fear knows how to put on a show. It doesn't need much, just your attention. The more you think, overthink, reanalyze, replay old scenes, the more you're feeding it. It starts as a whisper and grows louder with every what if. You think you're being cautious, but what you're doing is handing fear the mic. And trust me, it loves the spotlight. It performs, exaggerates, dramatizes. And just like that, you start believing every line of the script. It's sneaky. Fear rarely shows up shouting. It comes in quietly, masked as logic, planning, even responsibility. You tell yourself you're just being careful, but deep down, you're stalling. Because the more you wait for perfect timing, the more fear gets comfortable on stage. You don't even realize you've made it the main character. But here's the truth. Fear is only powerful because you gave it the spotlight. You built the stage. You handed it the story. So here's what you can do. Let it talk, but stop giving it the mic. Let it sit in the audience, not on the stage. Say, I hear you, but then act anyway. You don't need to fight fear. You just need to stop obeying it. Next time it gets loud, pause and ask, is this real or rehearsed? You'll be surprised how often it's just a performance you've seen too many times. This time, maybe it's your turn to speak. Most people think confidence comes before action, but the truth is, it's the opposite. Confidence grows from doing what scares you, one step at a time. The first time, your voice shakes, your hands sweat, your heart races, but you do it. And when you survive, even imperfectly, something inside shifts. You've proven to yourself, I can. And that moment becomes a seed, a new reference your brain will hold on to. I remember my first time recording a video where I shared something deeply personal. I almost didn't do it. My voice was shaky, I hated how I looked, and I questioned every word. But I clicked post, and the world didn't end. In fact, people connected. That one small act, full of fear, gave me a kind of strength that no book or course could have given. Because safety doesn't come before movement, it's built through movement. So don't wait for fear to vanish. It won't. Instead, choose one small thing to do with fear sitting next to you. Say what you've been holding in, start that project. Ask for help. Take the first step. Because every time you walk with fear, you're showing your nervous system a new story. I acted, and I was safe. And the more often you do it, the quieter fear becomes. Not because it left, but because it learned it's no longer in charge. Fear is always talking. Sometimes loudly, sometimes quietly. It tells you all the reasons not to try, not to speak up, not to step forward. And for a long time, you probably listened. You thought fear was being helpful, even protective. But just because it speaks, doesn't mean it's right. Fear is only one voice in the room, not the truth. And starting now, you get to decide which voice has the final say. Here's a simple but powerful exercise. Write down your fears, all of them. Don't edit. Don't hold back. Then, one by one, ask, is this a fact or just a story I've repeated so many times it feels real? Most fears fall apart under that question, because many of them aren't based on truth. They're habits, mental loops. And once you see them clearly, they start to lose their grip. Awareness is the first step toward freedom. You don't have to silence fear completely. You just need to stop letting it lead. Imagine fear as a passenger. It can come along for the ride, but it doesn't get to touch the wheel. You are not here to live a life based on warnings. You're here to create new experiences. So the next time fear speaks up, pause. Listen if you want, but then choose. Choose what aligns with who you're becoming, not just who you've been. Somewhere along the way, we were taught that fear is a flaw, that if you're scared, you're failing. But here's the truth. Fear is part of being alive. You feel fear because you care, because something matters. Because deep down, there's a version of life you still dream of. Fear doesn't show up in people who've given up. It shows up in those who still have something worth fighting for, even if they're scared to reach for it. Think of a firefighter running into a burning building, a single mom raising kids on her own, an artist sharing their truth with the world. You think they're not scared. Of course they are, but they move anyway. Their fear doesn't make them weak, it makes them real. And what makes them strong isn't the absence of fear. It's their willingness to keep showing up with fear in the room. So please, stop apologizing for feeling afraid. You're not broken. You're brave. You don't have to hide your fear to prove your strength. Sometimes, being honest about your fear is the most powerful thing you can do. Because the real danger isn't in feeling it, it's in letting it stop you from living. And if you're still here, listening, reflecting, maybe it's time to look at your fear not as the enemy, but as a sign that you're still very much alive. Fear doesn't always wait for you to fail. Sometimes it convinces you not to even begin. It plants the idea that it's safer not to try than to try and fall. And you believe it, so you never apply for the job. Never start the conversation, never show your real self. You create this silent agreement with fear. If I don't risk it, I can't get hurt. But the truth is, not trying hurts too, just in a quieter, longer lasting way. It's like quitting the race before you even put on your shoes. You never run, so you never lose. But you never win either. You miss the moment, the growth, the unexpected beauty of what could have been. Over time, that becomes normal. You stop dreaming out loud, you settle. You convince yourself you're being realistic. But deep down, a part of you knows you didn't stop because it wasn't right. You stopped because you were scared. Stopping before trying is one of the most invisible forms of self-sabotage. It hides behind logic, behind planning, behind excuses. But it always leaves a trace, that quiet what if that lingers. The only way to rewrite that pattern is by choosing to try. Not because it's safe, but because trying, even with fear, gives you a new story to tell. And sometimes, that first imperfect step is the one that changes everything. Fear doesn't always show up as panic. Sometimes it shows up looking productive. It pretends to be perfectionism, telling you it's not good enough yet. It hides inside procrastination, whispering that now isn't the right time. And it disguises itself as control, making you believe you need to have every detail figured out before making a move. But underneath all of that, fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. You say you're just being careful, strategic, not rushing it. But if you're honest, how many of your delays are really just fear dressed up in smarter clothes? How often do you wait until you feel ready, only to realize ready never comes? That's because fear isn't trying to help you grow. It's trying to keep you exactly where you are. Safe, stuck, and small. And unless you call it out, it keeps calling the shots. Start paying attention to the stories you tell yourself, the ones that sound reasonable, but keep you frozen. Ask yourself, is this really about standards? Or am I just scared to be seen trying? Naming the mask is the first step to removing it. Because once you recognize fear for what it is, it starts to lose power. And from that moment on, you can start choosing differently. Even if the fear still lingers in the background, the comfort zone feels safe. But that's exactly what makes it dangerous. It's not really comfort. It's fear, dressed up as familiarity. You know the routine, the people, the limits. Nothing surprises you. Nothing challenges you. And slowly, life becomes predictable, but also flat. You weren't meant to survive your days. You were meant to live them. But fear convinces you that predictable equals safe, and safe equals happy. And that's not always true. It's like living in a padded cell. Sure, it's quiet and nothing breaks, but you're not free. Fear builds walls that look like just being realistic. Well, it tells you to settle, to stop wanting more, to be grateful for what you have. And yes, gratitude matters, but not when it becomes a shield against your own growth. Sometimes, what we call gratitude is just fear of asking for more, and so we shrink without realizing it. The discomfort of growth is temporary, but the regret of not trying can last a lifetime. You don't have to break out overnight. Just open a window, step onto the porch, try something that stretches you even a little. Because every step outside the comfort zone gives you proof that you're still alive, still becoming. And if you listen closely, even fear is quietly cheering you on, hoping you'll finally move. Take a second and look back. Every hard moment, every heartbreak, every fall, you made it through. Maybe not without scars, maybe not the way you hoped, but you're still here. You've survived 100% of your hardest days. And yet, you still doubt yourself. That's what fear does. It blurs the memories of your strength and highlights the moments you felt small. It makes you forget the battles you've already won. Fear isn't just about the future. Sometimes it's about forgetting the past, forgetting the version of you who kept going, the one who picked up the pieces, who stayed up late figuring things out, who kept showing up even when it hurt. That version of you still exists. Maybe it's just buried under the noise of fear. Like armor left in the rain, a little rusted, but still strong underneath. You don't need to become stronger, you just need to remember. So the next time fear tells you you're not capable, pause. Remind yourself of what you've already faced. Make a list if you have to. Say it out loud. Because the truth is, you are living proof of resilience. And if you made it this far, what makes you think you can't take one more step? Fear wants you to forget who you are. But maybe today is the day you start remembering. You keep waiting for the fear to disappear, for the right moment, the perfect timing, the full confidence. But here's the truth. Fear doesn't leave before the journey. It often walks beside you the entire way. The shift happens when you stop trying to get rid of it and start moving with it. The life you want isn't waiting for fear to vanish. It's waiting for you to stop letting it lead. Your dreams don't need perfection. They need action. It's like standing at the edge of a cliff and someone tells you there's a bridge, but you can't see it until you step forward. One step, the bridge appears. Another, it stretches further, but it only reveals itself to those who walk. That's how life works. You don't get the full map. You get a moment of courage, just enough to move. And when you do, something inside you shifts. Not because fear disappeared, but because you stopped giving it the final word. So what if you stopped waiting? What if today was the day you moved with fear instead of against it? Not recklessly, not all at once. Just one small, shaky, beautiful step. Because fear might still whisper, but your decision can be louder. And maybe, just maybe, the life you've been dreaming of is already waiting on the other side, cheering you on for finally choosing to walk. So now ask yourself, how many times have you stopped before even trying? How many moments, dreams, or conversations have you avoided? Not because you couldn't, but because fear got there first. What would happen if, just this once, you moved anyway? Even with the shaking hands, even with the doubt. What if that one small step was the thing that finally changed the story? You don't need to wait for confidence. You just need to choose movement. And sometimes the most powerful decision isn't to overcome fear. It's to move with it, fully aware and fully alive. So what's one thing you've been putting off? What's the first, tiniest action you can take today? Not in spite of fear, but alongside it? If this video stirred something in you, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what part hit home. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. This is just the beginning, and we're walking this path together.